I'm Alice Greener, and this is the Swindon Show. Hello and welcome to the Swindon Show. This week coming to you from the hub of culture that is the Arts Centre. And there really is something here for everybody. And in a minute I'm going to be talking to Clary, who will tell us a little bit more about what's on offer. In the meantime, if you've missed any of our previous shows, well, you know what to do. Go on our website, theswindonshow.com. In the meantime, here's what's on the show this week. Our What's On guide. We chat to Caroll Gibbon about the Old Town Festival in June. We dish up the local eating out guide. We read out some of your feedback in our new feature Inbox. We go behind the scenes at Drove Veterinary Practice. Peter Mannion brings us some sports news. We ask your thoughts on radio news in Swindon Voices. We have a look at some great competitions. And to round up the show, we interview local singer-songwriter Alice Offley, who will also play us out on the show. It's a long time since I came through the tabs and walked out onto stage as Widow Twankey, but enough about all of that. Now, the venue here holds 224 people and was converted from one of two dance halls here in Swindon in 1956. Now, to talk more about that and what's on here at the Arts Centre, I'm going to be having a chat to the Culture Programming Manager, Clary Bean. So, go on, how many times do people get excited about interviewing Mr. Bean?
Not very often, but I do get name checked all over the world. Thanks, Rowan. That's a brilliant character. Yes,
I bet you do.
Lovely.
Now, let's first of all have a look at your job as a culture programming manager. What does that entail?
Well, obviously, this lovely venue here, which I'm very attached to because I've been working here forever, and my relationship with this venue goes back to when I was at school, 40 odd years. So, if I had my way, I would never leave this place because I just love it. But I also, in addition to programming this space, we have a small studio space downstairs, which seats 60, which is a relatively new space. Really excited about that because I can bring in small-scale productions. We can do workshops related to performances here, for example, children's workshops ahead of a children's performance. Because, I firmly believe that, if you can get young children interested in theatre at an early age, you've got a chance of holding on to them and grabbing their interest.
And of course you've got the other part that they love is the fact you've got a cafe, you've got the library, you've got really a multitude of things here.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of ties in quite nicely. And if we're doing a production of, for example, The Snail and the Whale, which is coming, which is by Julia Donaldson, who's the current Children's Laureate and who wrote The Gruffalo, if you can get children interested in the book and then come to see it brought to life on stage here, well, that's just fantastic. But in addition to this space, I also program a small series of concerts over the summer in the Town Gardens Bowl.
Which we have to say a big thank you to you, because you've actually given us some tickets on our competition, which you can have a look at later.
Yeah, we have. We kick off the season next Saturday, this Saturday coming, in fact, on the 26th of May, with the Warsaw Village Band, who are kind of cutting-edge Polish folk band. Just produced a new album, but their last album was a kind of set of remixes with all sorts of people and really, really interesting stuff. But, combined with that traditional folk music, which is fantastic. But one of the things I'm excited about is Hardeep Singh Kohli, who's a renowned broadcaster.
I want to come and see him.
Scottish Indian heritage. He wrote a book actually last year, which was about that whole sort of story of growing up in Glasgow. And he does a show where he actually cooks on stage. So his show is called Indian Takeaway. He's going to be ringing up a local restaurant, ordering a takeaway, and then at the suggestions of the audience, which you do by going on his website, you give him a load of ingredients and he will cook something live on stage. And then there's a kind of taste-off. In the autumn, we have the boy with tape on his face coming back, who did the Royal Variety Show recently. Fantastic mime, really, really funny. Brotherhood of Man are coming, who are doing their 70s, their trawl through the 70s.
I just can't wait for all that dancing.
Much stuff.
So, of course, just go on the website. In the meantime, Clary Bean, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now that you've seen some of what the Arts Centre can offer, why not come down and watch a show? The world's most popular musical, The Sound of Music, will be here from Wednesday to Sunday, complete with all the wonderfully memorable songs you know and love. From Friday to Sunday, the annual Lechlade Festival is returning to the picturesque town in North Swindon. 80s ska band The Beat will be headlining, with over 40 other bands performing across 2 stages, with plenty of other family entertainment on offer. The National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, which we visited recently on the Swindon Show, are holding an eco-workshop on sustainable heat and energy on Saturday. You can get the answers that the salesman might not tell you on everything from heat pumps to solar panels. Register for your free tickets now. Also on Saturday, the Warsaw Village Band will be performing their traditional Polish folk songs at the Old Town Bowl as part of the annual concerts held in town gardens. Make sure you watch our competitions section for details on how to win 4 tickets for the show. Bob the Builder, one of children's TV's most famous characters, is coming to Swindon on Sunday. He and his friends will be at the Wyburn Theatre, but the real question is, can he fix it? Yes, he can. At the time of creating this guide, tickets were available for all events. However, we do suggest you contact the venue to avoid disappointment. Now we're just taking a quick break here in the Arts Centre coffee shop to talk about a very special event that's happening in just a few weeks' time. And what we're talking about is the Old Town Festival. Now it's been running for a few years now, and it features all sorts of great talent, from carnival queens to princesses to an amazing range of local talent. And it's a great pleasure now to talk to this year's chairperson, Caroll Gibbon. Caroll, lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
And it's been something that's been growing in success every year, hasn't it?
It's been an amazing adventure, the Old Town Festival. We started last year with a small budget, and we decided we'd go for the 1960s because we could all remember it. And this year it's the 1970s. So
hence why I'm wearing
fantastic.
my outfit here.
Yeah.
I've got the whole thing. I'm just missing the sideburns, but
And
apart from
the
that,
hair.
I've got a hairy chest underneath this.
Oh,
well,
that's
a
too
wig,
much
at
information.
least. It is probably, anyway. So what have we got planned for this year?
This year runs from 16th to 23rd of June. We're opening in the Town Gardens on the 16th. We've got a full day planned of a variety of activities. We've got a pop concert in the evening. We've got the same thing on the Sunday. We're having a whole weekend of local talent, local arts, local music, the schools, the performing groups, all volunteers. Everybody's giving up their time for free, and then it finishes on the Sunday evening with a classical concert with local Brunel Brass headlining it for us. It's absolutely fantastic. We go on for a whole week, and during that week we're having guided walks around Old Town with Cilla Slipper, who's a Blue Badge guide, classical music in Christchurch, piano recital by Paul Turner, finishing on the 23rd with a carnival street parade. We've got Peppa Pig, we've got children's fancy dress, waiters race, and
You have done really well. Look at that,
That's
all straight
amazing.
off the bat. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm living the festival at the moment.
Well, people can look on the website, they'll get
Yeah.
a lot more information.
Amazing, yeah.
Caroll, thank you very much indeed for
Thank you.
chatting to us. We can have a nice cup of coffee now.
Right, thank you.
And I might keep this on for the rest of the show. What do you reckon? Maybe not. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Caroll, thank you very much
Right,
indeed.
thank you.
If you live in West Swindon, there's good value to be had at the Woodlands Edge pub. They're offering a selection of meals from their new big value menu at just 2 for £8.49, Monday to Friday, including favourites like traditional fish and chips, rump steak and many more. If you like your food to be sourced locally, then the Pear Tree at Purton is the place for you. Their restaurant was the first in Wiltshire to be given the Wiltshire Breakfast Award, presented to those who serve at least 5 ingredients sourced from the county, meaning you can dine knowing your food hasn't travelled hundreds of miles to get to your plate. One restaurant that's tucked away in Swindon is Casa Paolo, but it's definitely worth finding out about. Their traditional Italian menu reflects the rustic North Italian cuisine that makes up the restaurant's heritage, so you can be sure all the dishes are authentic. See their website for more details. Fans of a traditional roast will definitely enjoy a trip to the Friary Toby Carvery in North Swindon. They pride themselves on creating the perfect roast dinner, from hand-peeled spuds to their slow-cooked meats. You can even get 2 of their famous carveries for just a tenner. Now, as regular viewers know, over the last 10 episodes, we've been asking you for your feedback and comments about the show. So we thought it was about time we pulled off some of those comments from our inbox and shared them with you. And we're going to start with an email from Tamsin, who lives here in Old Town. And she would like to know how long it takes to record an episode of the show. Well, Tamsin, it takes about 4 hours of actual recording time. And as you know, we go to a different venue every week. Then our editor has to get to work to put it all together. That takes about another 4 hours. So you're talking about 8 hours in total. And that's not including all the preparation time beforehand. So a lot of work goes into just a 25-minute show. Now, Marge Swatton has been watching the show from Fuerteventura, and she says she loves the episodes as it reminds her of her time living in Swindon. So, buenos dias, Marge. See, it's not just Italian I speak. Anyway, Mark Winter from Stratton would like to know how Alistair got into presenting and what tips he could offer. Well, I actually started by going to one of those training courses that you see advertised, and that was actually really good because it gave me an idea of whether it was something I wanted to do or not. Then it's really a case of just getting experience, and what I did, I was very lucky to get involved in a couple of companies who gave me that expertise and practice to be able to actually do it. And I got to work on board the ships where I did a lot of TV on there. The main thing...
Moving on.
Don't want to hear my story? Anyway. Get hold of me, Mark. I'll tell you what to do. Meanwhile, Debbie Gilchrist, from Watchfield, would like to know who is behind the camera. Well, we're going to give this a go. Hang on, let me just grab the camera, and I better have a look through, make sure I've got you in focus. That is in front of us is Tom. He's our cameraman, and behind is floor manager James, who's often been called the Cherub. I don't know why. Anyway, never mind. Anyway, it's way too heavy for me to hold. And by the way, James has now just gone bright red. Meanwhile, lastly, Sue McNamara from Eldine says, great show, guys. The family and I watch it each week and can't wait to see what situations Alistair gets himself into. Keep up the good work. Yeah, so don't give them any ideas. Goodness knows what they'll come up with next. Anyway, that's it for this week on the inbox. But if you would like us to read out any messages or read out anything special, then you know how to get hold of us. All the social media is running across the bottom of the page right now. And you can always email us, studio@theswindonshow.com. Most of us have a pet or have at some stage in the past had a pet, so are very familiar with the obligatory trip to the vet. But how much do we really know about what goes on behind the scenes of a veterinary practice? Well, recently we went to Drove's Veterinary Practice, who showed us behind the scenes on one of their recent open days. This is really something you don't want to be seen doing, isn't it? But it is actually legitimate. It's part of the exhibit that people can interact with at Drove Vets. But I'm going to clean myself up and go inside. Now, when we bring our animals to the vet, we always want to know what happens when they go through that door. Well, fortunately here at Drove Vets today, they're showing us, and I'm going to talk to one of the two nurses here, Jo, and find out exactly what goes on the other side of this door. Okay, we've got a qualified veterinary nurse, Jo, and also one of the vets here at the practice as well, Claire. Jo, first of all, maybe just give us an idea, what is there here? Because you offer an awful lot more than the average veterinary practice, don't you?
Yeah, we have an ultrasound machine here and obviously an x-ray theatre, and we've got a separate dog and cat ward, which a lot of practices don't have, and so they're normally the cats and the dogs and any exotics are actually mixed, which is obviously not great for them, really.
I mean, it's one of the things about vets, isn't it, that you have so much. You have to know about so many different animals as well.
Yeah.
We were talking about a 100-year-old tortoise,
yeah,
all the way to the various pets. And Claire, coming to you, one of the things, of course, we know is that we sometimes spend more on our pets than we do on ourselves.
We do. Unfortunately, there always are costs involved. Everyone has to be paid, and we've got the facilities. To have the expensive facilities, you have to charge a certain amount of money. But we really do care about the pets. That's what we really enjoy. Both of us really enjoy working here because we love animals, really, and we like to treat the pets as our own when they come in here.
And you have got a state-of-the-art equipment, I see here, and I presume this is something just like the medical practice. It has to be the very latest.
Yes, it does.
It is,
yeah,
it?
It certainly is.
A lot of the equipment, the ultrasound machine, will actually be ex-human sort of hospital.
I love that.
Equipment, ex-human hospital, yeah.
Well, it's an amazing facility. Like many people, I've never looked behind the scenes. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to show us around today and everybody else. And I'll let you get back to work. I'm sure you've got lots of pampered pictures to look after.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Right.
Now, as we all know, the Olympic torch is coming through Swindon this week, and of course we here at the Swindon Show are getting very, very excited about it, and we'll be covering it in full on our next show. But in the meantime, you can find out more about what's going on the Swindon Web homepage. We've got full analysis, we've got details of the route, that we're going to have 3 reporters on it. It's going to be very, very exciting, and we'll tell you all about it. So have a look on the Swindon Web homepage, and we'll look forward to reporting to you next week. Now, talking of sport, here's Peter Mannion in the sport. Do you mind moving? We've got people with tickets. Yeah, tickets to see Alistair Greener? Yeah, certainly £22.50. No, it's a bargain, isn't it?
There's no one there.
Okay, there's no one there. Okay.
Thanks, Alistair. £22.50 to hear you talk? I don't think so. We're here at the home of the Swindon Robins, and later we'll be speaking with Alun Rossiter about the tragic death of Lee Richardson. But first, the Olympic torch is coming to Swindon, and I, for one, can't wait for the Olympic festivities to begin. The torch will arrive on day 6 of its 70-day tour around the country. It all starts at Royal Wootton Bassett at 12:30 before heading on to Swindon for 1 p.m. The torch will then snake its way up round Old Town and then find its way to Wharf Green. After a quick pit stop there, it will then move on to the iconic Magic Roundabout. And then after a quick stop at Swindon College, it will then reach its final destination at the BMW garage on Bridge End Road. We'll have multi-camera coverage of the event with 3 presenters, and we'll have highlights of everything that happened on swindonweb.com at around 5 p.m. on the day. And as Alistair said, next week's show is dedicated to the Olympic torch coming to Swindon. Coming up, we've got all the latest Swindon Town news with manager Paolo Di Canio hitting the headlines again. But first, Swindon Robins got their speedway season back underway after a month of rained-off races. They lost 50 points to 40 to the Lakeside Hammers, but events on the track took a backseat as fans and competitors from everyone that attended paid tribute to Lee Richardson, who tragically died in Poland last week. Lee was the current Lakeside captain and, of course, a former Robins star, so it was an emotional evening for everyone in attendance. We spoke to Alun Rossiter to get his thoughts on Lee and also his impact on the sport of speedway.
Yeah, so Alan, you're back racing, but on Friday night, but things weren't about events on the track, really, were they?
No, not really. Obviously, we were paying our respects to Lee Richardson for what a great rider he was, and it was a very sombre affair and a very sad night, and I wouldn't like to wish to go through that ever again. It was quite horrendous, really.
Yeah, I mean, just want to talk about Lee kind of as a rider, really. First of all, I mean, what kind of a rider was he? He was here kind of a few seasons, wasn't he? And he done really well for the Robins. Yeah,
he done very well, but unfortunately, the way the rules went, we had to release him, and because we had to accommodate either him or Lee Adams, and obviously at the time Lee was like a cut above everybody. And that's the route we went down. But Lee was an ultra professional guy. It always immaculately turned out in the Hagen Shocks team's colours over 12 years now, and a real long-serving sponsorship deal that he had with them. But he was ultra professional.
I mean, from what we kind of see and reading things, he was. A lot of people talk about just what a great guy he was. I mean, I'm sure you would echo those sentiments.
Yeah, he always, anybody, all the track staff up there loved him because he always had time. He'd walk up and talk to them. They'd come up and talk to him, and no matter what it was, he always had time, and he always had a conversation with them. And I think that just goes, just shows what sort of guy he was.
Yeah, I mean, he knew his racing, didn't he? Some say he might have even been a pundit in the future.
I think so. I think he's got quite a level head on him. And again, the sad thing, he's only 33 years of age, and certainly he had the knowledge, and whatever he did things properly. He was, like I said, he was immaculately turned out every time, and even in himself, he was, professional to the end.
Right, I suppose looking at events kind of on the track now, it was a month off pretty much, wasn't it? And now you're back, but kind of 2 losses. What are your kind of thoughts on the 2 race meets you've had over the weekend?
Friday night, have to say that I can accept that how we lost on Friday night. I made some mistakes. I wasn't totally on the game. I thought I was prepared for it, but obviously I wasn't. The long break, I just made a couple of bad mistakes, and I have to put my hand up and but I'm now back on it. But, you know, and I said to the boys what the riders went through Friday night with Lee's wife there and their 2 young boys there, you know, before when we did the minutes of silence and the minutes of applause. And within 15 minutes they were going out racing, and to see them lot there at the start, and they laid a flower beside his bike, you know, I have to take my hat off to the riders and go, you know, and to go out and actually go and perform on the track. So I can live with Friday, but I was a bit disappointed with certain performances last night at Eastbourne. You know, we've got to start up in our game now. We have had a month off, and we are a little bit race rusty, but we were in the hunt last night, but we got very slack towards the end, and I'm hopefully be having a word with a few of them and just seeing, you know, what they're going to do to make things right.
It was a week of contrast for Swindon Town manager Paolo Di Canio. In the week where he was named the LMA League 2 Manager of the Year award, he now faces allegations of racism. Jonathan Tahui, who was on loan at Swindon during the season, has asked the FA to look into an incident back in March where it is alleged that he was the victim of some racist language. Now, the club have given their full backing to Di Canio, having already looked into the incident and found no wrongdoing, but the club have said they'll fully cooperate with the FA's investigation, and Di Canio himself has denied any allegations. Staying with Swindon now, and the club have revealed that they've offered new contracts to Billy Bowden and Nathan Thompson, whilst Abdul Saeed, Mark Scott, Phil Smith, Callum Kennedy and Landa Gabilondo have all left the club after they weren't offered new deals. And finally, Dave Webb is now the new manager of Swindon Supermarine. The former Highworth boss was offered the position after the joint player manager this season, Gary Horgan, turned down the position. Now, Webb has won 2 trophies in 4 years at Highworth, and no doubt he'll be looking to replicate those successes with Marine after their relegation this season. That's all your sports news for now, but join me again next week. We'll have all the latest Speedway action, plus we hope to have an interview with the new Supermarine manager, Dave Webb.
And now time for our regular feature, Swindon Voices. As you know, we like to take to the streets and ask the residents of Swindon about a top story that's hitting the news. As you may be aware, the BBC behind me are looking to maybe change their schedule of broadcasting, which means there might be a little bit less news about Swindon. Now, we asked, how do the residents feel about that?
I'd like to think that they would keep Wiltshire-interested things. I think that we should have some Wiltshire stuff to get people outside of Swindon involved, the other area. But I don't think they should lose the focus on Swindon. This is where it's broadcast, this is where it is.
I do listen to BBC local radio sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And I would have thought a specific service with the fact that Swindon is the largest town in Wiltshire would have an impact, and that news should be specific to Swindon for this area.
So you think they should maintain their current schedules?
Yes, I would think so, yes.
I've got to be honest, I don't really listen to it.
Okay.
So I couldn't really say. I think it's only fair that it should be made not just for Swindon.
I don't normally listen, but I think, to be honest, that's quite a good idea for modern times, because a lot of people travel out of Swindon now for work. I mean, we are a commuter town at the end of the day, so the wider knowledge of what's going on elsewhere in Wiltshire is quite important for everybody.
It should include local news, shouldn't it, obviously? But I think it's a better idea if it's widespread as well, isn't it? There's a lot goes on in Wiltshire we don't know about here.
Absolutely, but you like to know what's going on in your
doorstep, don't you?
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea, that, yeah.
So if they cut the amount of Swindon coverage and made it more for the whole county, what would you think of that?
Well, I can't see how you could lose out so much, could you? I mean, you can find out about localised news without the radio, can't you?
Fair enough.
But what's going on, say, down in other parts of Wiltshire, you don't get to know, do you? You know, the papers don't cover that, the local papers. So it's probably a good idea all round to introduce a system like that.
We have it on quite a lot. It's on the radio, in the car, whenever we're in the car, you know.
And what would you feel if they did less Swindon news?
As long as it's not too far abroad, you know, Wiltshire's okay. But we do like to keep in touch with what's happening in Swindon. Well, we live here, we've lived here for 5 years.
If you represent a trust or charity and would like some free exposure, then please do email us, studio@theswindonshow.com, and we'll include you in one of our regular features, Calling Swindon. Now, as you know, every week we have some great competitions, and two of our recent winners were Sue Hornbuckle, who won 2 tickets to see Boogie Nights at the Wyvern Theatre, and Steph Carey, who won 2 tickets to see An Inspector Calls. So it's well worth entering. So let's have a look at what we've got on offer this week. 4 tickets to see the Warsaw Village Band at the Old Town Bowl. Just press like on the Swindon Show's Facebook page to enter. A sit-down meal for 2 at the Burge Indian Restaurant in Wanborough. Lovely. 2 tickets to see Wheatus, one of America's most famous rock bands, performing at the Mecca in Swindon. All you have to do to enter is visit the page on the screen now. If you have a smartphone, you can scan the barcode to be taken straight there. Winners will be contacted by phone and email. For full terms and conditions, please see the competitions page. Now, you may remember a few weeks ago we showed you a video from a very talented local artist called Alice Offley. We're pleased to say the feedback has been so brilliant we've managed to convince her to come and play live for us here on the show. But before we do that, it's a great opportunity to meet you and welcome to the show, and congratulations, you're doing incredibly well.
Thank you.
And looking on your website, you're working on a new album at the moment.
Yep. Yeah, that's going really well.
And of course a lot of things happening, but first of all, you're a local girl.
Yes.
And you were saying the last time you remember playing on this stage, you think you were, what, 12 years old?
Yeah, I could have actually been stood here, because I remember the grand piano was that way, and it was a classical music festival that I used to play, because I used to have piano lessons in Swindon, and we'd do the festivals every year.
So you started at a young age. You really are one of those child prodigies almost.
Well, I wasn't a prodigy, but I did start young, yeah. So, my mum and dad sent me to lessons, and I'm glad they did, because now it's what I do.
And also, of course, very proud of your roots and everything, because you're still working in and around Swindon. I know you've got quite a few gigs coming up as well, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I'm at the Vic for a festival called My Dad's Bigger Than Your Dad. That's the 31st of this month.
Great name.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then the Big Arts Day at Lydiard Park on July the 14th.
Brilliant, and that are 2 great events for you as well.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit more about your inspiration, some of the people that have actually made you into how you are today in terms of inspiration and so on.
I'm inspired by lots of music, anything good really. My collection on my iPod is so vast. But I suppose I'm particularly drawn to people that play the piano, like Annie Lennox, Stevie Wonder, Jerry Lee Lewis, just, you know, all the piano people basically, Carole King.
Difference is you decorate your piano.
I do, yeah. Yeah, I've got some flowers on mine, yeah.
And it's, I mean, that's something quite distinctive to you as well, isn't it? It's on all your videos, and we're going to see it very shortly as well.
Exactly, yeah. For I think it's my Mercy video, I bought hundreds and hundreds of artificial flowers because I was sort of setting up a Garden of Eden thing, and then afterwards I just had so many flowers, and I thought I can start taking them to gigs with me, and I've stuck them all on my piano, and yeah, people seem to like them. I get messages on my Facebook saying, "Oh, it's you with the flowers." So now I keep them because they look nice. So.
Well, it's a great look. Alice, thank you very much indeed for chatting to us. I'm going to go and let you get ready now. And all it leaves me to say really is a big, big thank you to everybody who's been involved in today's show, especially Clary Bean and everyone here at the Arts Centre, Caroll Gibbon and the Old Town Festival, and of course the management and staff at Drove Vets, and most of all you for watching. Now, as usual, we want to hear from you, so please do mention us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, on Twitter, hashtag The Swindon Show, or even email us, studio@theswindonshow.com. And remember, you may even get your letter read out next week. In the meantime, to finish our show with her brand new song, Rabbit, Alice Offley.
Rabbit in the road, trying to take it slow, but my body and mind wide open like a window. With my heart on my sleeve, my body wants to ride, and you can feel my soft skin, it's soft free.